All right, welcome back to the Hub. Today's guest is Ryan and Jessica Salmon. It's been a little while since we've had an episode, so I'm excited for them to come on and to speak with us. Today's episode is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to spend as much time talking about politics. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about buying a small business and running it, operating it. There's been a lot of focus on startups and starting your own business, but buying a small business or medium-sized business and taking it over and running it is also another way that you can become an entrepreneur or a CEO real early in your career and still have great experience. So with that being said, I'll let Ryan and Jessica introduce themselves.
Go for it. Start us off.
What do you want to know? Right.
Tell our family.
I guess I'll open it up for you. So Ryan was a business school colleague at BYU with me, and he's also a great road biker. And through road biking in school, I also got to meet his wife, Jessica. And why don't you tell us a little bit about your family and the business that you guys bought, like what it is.
Yeah. So we've got 5 kids. Oldest is 13, youngest is 4. So we've got a good range there. Just to give you kind of an idea of as business owners, we're also very much dealing with that. And then here in the midst of COVID, you got homeschooling and stuff. So that's been kind of a fun challenge. But so in my first semester, actually, I came to school with the idea that I wanted to acquire a business. That was kind of my emphasis while in my MBA. And so in our first semester, we found this business and we were doing some due diligence, really just for the practice of it. And then we ended up pulling the trigger. So it's a small business. It's an e-commerce business. We sell quilting fabric, quilting supplies. And we thought it was a great fit because Jessica has experience. She had worked for a fabric shop. She loves to quilt, loves to sew. So the product was kind of fun from that perspective. But I think it was small enough that it felt manageable while I was in school. And I like that there's a physical product. You're dealing with customers, you're shipping. And so we actually get our kids in the shop. And so they're fulfilling orders, they're cutting fabric. They're
nothing like slave labor. No.
We pay them in 3 meals a day in a bed. So no, we actually have our oldest on payroll, so it's kind of fun. She clocks in and comes and works, and it's an awesome opportunity for us to teach our kids about work and economics, earning money, dealing with customers, hiring employees, and I think it's been an awesome experience from that perspective.
Yeah, I think 2 things kind of want to follow up with is so why did you, when you're coming to business school, a lot of people decide like, hey, this is a reset of my career. I want to go into tech, I want to go into consulting, or, they're like, no, I want to start up a business. Like what? I don't think a lot of people know that buying a business is an opportunity. So like, how did you guys like kind of find out about it? And why was that like, hey, this is the route for me?
Yeah. So without getting too in detail in my corporate career before the MBA, I did have experiences of being part of a startup, and I saw that sort of small business feel where you're making decisions, where you're helping to grow something, you're giving input strategically. And then I've also had the experience of like being part of a huge corporation where, at least me personally, I didn't feel like I could move the needle. I could be terrible at my job or I could be great at my job, and I'm still just a small cog. And I knew that I wanted to be part of that earlier experience of small business. And then I actually had a friend of mine who had purchased a business. So he was talking to me about this, and he sort of opened my eyes to this idea of entrepreneurship through acquiring a business. And so then as I do some research, Harvard and Stanford both put out some really, really good resources on acquisitions, how to do it, some of the statistics annually of what's happening. And you start looking and you realize that I think the baby boomer generation was very entrepreneurial.
Yep.
And as they age, they need a way to transfer their business to someone else. And they don't have kids growing up in the business anymore. Their kids go to college and get their engineering degree or become doctors or whatever. And so they've got this really well-run business and no one to just hand it off to. And in a lot of ways, that also represents the retirement. So there's this huge opportunity for our generation to come in and acquire these businesses that are well-run, a great product, good customers, but maybe a little bit outdated, I guess, in terms of not picking up on newer technologies and really leveraging the internet and whatnot. So that was kind of my idea, was I think there's a lot of great businesses. Let's find one or a few of them and kind of one by one acquire them and see if we can't take them to another level.
And I think we were also really attracted to the hopeful, the lifestyle of owning your own business, of the flexibility and the ability for us both to be in the workplace or at home if we needed to be. And so in an ideal situation, I know initially it was really stressful and busy as we figured out that balance, but we saw that, or we had the idea that down the road it would give Ryan the chance to be more involved with the kids' sports activities and be able to come to more things, because as he was working for a big corporation, he was traveling a lot, he was super busy, and just that lifestyle, we realized that it wasn't what we wanted for our family.
Right. That's a great point. Jess, you're kind of like, you run the operations day to day, and Ryan, you guys have kind of found a balance where, Ryan, you're thinking more long-term strategic, but it's kind of nice. You guys, a lot more flexibility. It's kind of like your co-CEOs, and you can hop off, hop on, and really maneuver, where instead, working for a big company, it's like, hey, I got to be at my desk 8 to 7 or whatever it might be. So Jess, how much did your so it's a fabric business, think like Joanne Fabrics, but on a smaller scale. That's how I think of it, kind of my heuristic. But like, how much did your your knitting, your sewing, kind of your expertise weigh into saying, hey, this is a good business to buy? Or was it more just like, hey, this is a good like the right size in terms of revenue, I kind of know a little bit about it, and I think it's pretty well run, let's go for it? Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Initially it was totally Ryan. Like he was monitoring
He wasn't really paying attention in class, I know, but anyways.
I really wasn't.
It really even started before school started. Like, he had a few websites that he was monitoring where businesses are listed for sale, and he just kind of would keep going on the process, and he found this business that was for sale. And he honestly, like, we didn't even really talk about it because he didn't take it really seriously until he made an offer on it. So it was kind of like, oh, just like, by the way, I think I'm going to make an offer on this business. But he was like, he really downplayed it because it was like, there's already an offer on it. I don't think it's going to work out, but if it did work out, that would be cool. It's a quilting business. And I was like, oh, that's really awesome. Like, that's something I could be involved in. Whereas before, the businesses that he was looking at were ones that would have been harder for me to be involved at, like electrical contractors or something really specialized that I didn't have any knowledge in. So I was really excited about it from the beginning. But we both really didn't think that it was going to work out. And then as we just went further in the process, and initially, we did make an offer, and then the first offer did fall through, then we had to like really sit down and think about, okay, like I'm in school, like he's getting his MBA, right? Like in that first semester is so crazy. He was like, if we buy this, like you're going to have to do everything and take care of the 5 kids. Like, is this something you can seriously handle? And of course you don't really know, you're just kind of jumping in. And I just felt like it was something that I was excited about. And I was in the stage of my life where I was kind of wanting to do something outside of the home in a really part-time, like minimal basis. So this was definitely more than I was thinking about, but it was fun because it was ours and we could shape it and make it our own.
Yeah, that's just really awesome. There's something to be about owning something, like, hey, this is like, I guess it's kind of that old hunter mentality, right? I killed it, I get to eat it, kind of thing. So like owning your business that's pretty cool. So I kind of want to, so that's great background on like how you kind of got into it. I think a lot of people maybe and that I've talked to, they're a little nervous about identifying the right business. And then the other second thing is how to finance it. And I don't, you don't need to tell figures or anything, but I think it'd be really helpful if you could kind of, maybe break out percentages of how you financed it. Cause I think you're right. There is this wave of baby boomers that are retiring that have this business, and they're looking for a liquidation event, right? They want to cash out their company, their business is their retirement. So they want to cash out. So how did you guys, five kids, you're also doing MBA school, right? That takes a lot of money as well. Like, how did you work out the financing so that you were able to do it? And then what advice would you give with regards to financing to other people that are looking at buying a business?
Yeah. Yeah, that's good stuff. So you asked an earlier question about how to identify kind of the right business. And I think everybody's going to be unique. But for me, I didn't care if it was quilting or insurance or, electrical contracting. What I was looking for is I want a business that has shown a history of enduring and like candidly kind of a boring business, right? Like I wasn't looking for, year over year, 2x, 3x growth. It's, hey, we're jumping on this rocket ship. I wanted something that had shown, a decade of some solid growth, something that I knew I couldn't really step in and screw up too badly.
You guys are basically running a mini LBO, right? Leverage buyout here. You just want that good cash flow, right? That steady stream of cash that the business kicks off. That way it's there.
I think those are the baby boomer businesses, right? They've been around so long that they're not experiencing this huge 20, 30, 40% growth year after year. It's like, 3 to 5, and our business was growing more than that when we bought it. But so in terms of like what I was looking for, it was really the fundamentals of the finances and not like the product that I was really caring a whole lot about. And I know there's people that would disagree and say, if you're not passionate about quilting fabric, why would you buy that business? And I can respect that. But I think me personally, the business challenges of implementing strategy and working with customers, that translates across so many different companies. And that's what's fun and interesting to me.
Yeah.
Did you want to? And then I can jump into financing, but we're gonna.
And I think we also looked at this as not like a trial run, but kind of like an experiment. Like it was a small enough business that we felt like we can do this for a few years and see how it goes, and then we can turn around and sell it. Or it wasn't like, okay, if we buy this, then we're doing this forever. So it was a good starting place to see if our ideas and implementing new things would actually make a difference in the business, and how it would be, running a business together. And I mean, Ryan, definitely isn't passionate about fabric and quilting supplies, and people laugh, that when he has to say the name of the business, it's like, oh.
I have designed, I can't remember if I showed you, but I have designed and sewn a quilt.
It's true.
It's pretty cool. Maybe I'll have to send you a picture or something.
I haven't seen this side of you, Ryan, and you have not shown me this quilt. So look, making moves here. I see.
I got to at least understand, that part of the business. So to your financing question though, and that's interesting. People will finance businesses a handful of ways, and I think we are a bit of an anomaly in that we were fortunate to have the cash to buy it completely outright. So I will share some numbers. So they were asking 300,000 for it. And the most recent year they had done 125,000 in EBITDA. And so we came in and settled at a purchase price of 250. And so it was about a 2x multiple.
2x multiple. Yep.
And so we were, so we were fortunate to have that cash. In hindsight though, I wouldn't have preferred to finance it that way. Now, the reason we came down in price was because we were coming in at an all cash offer. So she really liked that and was able to negotiate down. But ideally, and this is going to be way more accessible to so many people, ideally I would have got an SBA loan for 60 to 70% of the business, had the owner finance another 10, maybe 15%, and then I come in with, I don't know if the numbers are all adding up, but another 10 or 15% myself. So that way on a $250,000 business, you're only coming in with 25,000 or so, and that's where you can work with another partner who may be an equity investor or something like that, which all of a sudden it becomes pretty manageable to acquire these businesses. Now I realize this was a small business, and if you're looking for a $2, $3, $4, $5 million business. Those numbers just scale up from there, but it's still, SBA lending is really popular. It's really accessible. And even more so in today's environment with COVID, there's a lot of incentives to be, borrowing that money and buying businesses, making investments. And, we've got a professor at MBA who's always said that there's a lot of equity investors out there looking for the right opportunity. So I don't think while I haven't done it myself yet, I don't think it'll be terribly hard to find those equity investors who are interested in investing in a young entrepreneur who wants to acquire a business like this.
Yeah, a couple of things. Just in case people don't know, the listeners, SBA, Small Business Administrator, right? So those are pretty popular. The one downside to those types of loans is that your personal assets are also on the hook. Is that correct or not correct?
So I'm not sure on that. I would need to double check. But I don't think that they are, because it's the assets of the business that, everything's it's underwritten off of that and secured.
Gotcha. Okay, so this is good. Yeah, good clarification. So it's a small business, basically a small business loan, and the loan is backed by the assets of the company. EBITDA is basically a proxy for cash, how much cash the business generates. So your revenue minus all your expenses related to generating your revenue, and whatever left over is called EBITDA, or it's just a proxy for how much cash. Basically, think like you get your income, your paycheck, you pay all your bills, whatever's left over would be a good way to think about EBITDA. And then do you think you would have been able to gotten the same price if you would have financed it differently, or do you think coming in all cash really changed?
Yeah, so the original offer that she had accepted ahead of ours, it did have a seller financing component. So the previous owner, I think she was going to carry $25,000 to $30,000 on a maybe like a 5-year note or something like that. So the fact that we came in and said, and again, this was maybe kind of dumb of us, because now we're absorbing all of that risk of taking over this business immediately with our cash. But the fact that we didn't push for her to do that was a really nice negotiating lever to bring that purchase price down. Because I think she was nervous about having a 5-year loan out with someone who's taken over her business. She had trust that the business fundamentals were there and the business would continue to endure, but I think that still made her a little bit nervous, and she'd rather just kind of free and clear.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like a lot of these business owners kind of want that liquidity event, right? They're wanting to cash out a little bit. So that's great. I think that was really good info on the financing. So 2 last questions for you before we wrap up. So what's been kind of the biggest challenge? So you acquired the business, you're in MBA school. Maybe this is Jess, you could better answer this. And all of a sudden you have this business, and what was kind of like, was there any buyer's remorse? Was it kind of like, oh, like I can do this, or kind of walk us through that a little bit?
I would say we've gone through a few different stages of challenges. So initially, definitely the challenge was finding a balance between work and home, because Ryan was in school and I just felt like I was spending like all day at the shop, with the kids. And so it totally took over our lives for the beginning, until we were able to hire an employee and kind of get in a better process of managing and running the shop. And I think that the second stage of challenge that we went through was as Ryan and I figured out our roles. It was initially tricky to just both kind of feel like we were trying to do everything. And that with time, as we figured out, okay, like you're really good at these things, and I'm better at these things. So we were able to separate our responsibilities, and that kind of happened naturally, I would say. And then it's allowed us both to kind of focus on our strengths and each, work together better, I would say. And then I think that the third challenge that we've gone through has been actually going through COVID. And for us, it was a good problem. Like our business tripled basically like overnight. I mean, it just all of a sudden, all quilt shops were, brick and mortar shops were closing down, and people were still wanting to buy fabric. A lot of people were stuck at home
Yeah.
and wanting to sew. And so our, I they must have, looked online for the things that they were looking for. So we were going crazy. So we had to find new employees, hire new people. Plus, our kids were not able to go to school. It just was like a crazy period of time where we were trying to balance the insane growth that we experienced and buying more inventory. It was a lot of interesting challenges for us.
It's kind of, that's the main difference I feel like between operating and owning a business. Like, for me, like when I'm done with work, I'm done with work. I don't really think about it. But for you guys, it's like, it's more of a lifestyle a little bit. And
Yeah, totally.
but I mean, greater return, greater, more risk, greater reward kind of thing. So that is cool that, the pandemic's really hurt some businesses, but you guys must have been living right and got the right business to really have that kind of growth. So
Yeah, we've been really fortunate, and we definitely have not complained about the growth that we've experienced, because we recognize that a lot of people have suffered and that this has been definitely a big challenge. So we're really grateful that it's affected our business that way. But like you said, it is interesting to have my husband also be the one who knows the most about the business. So it's natural for us to always just want to be talking about the business. So we definitely have to consciously separate it and have conversations about other things, because it can take over.
yeah, I remember you talking just early when I stopped by the shop. You said, the previous owner was kind of running it from their basement, and it was hard for them to separate, hey, I'm work, hey, because like they were always thinking about, 10 o'clock at night. Well, if we're watching a movie as a family, like maybe I'll work on orders or something. But for you guys, you found a separate spot, you're running the shop out of there. And I think you mentioned that really helped you kind of say like, hey, we're at work right now. And then when we're at home, it's a little easier to transition and be like, work will still be there. Let's take a little break.
Yeah, for sure. The physical has really helped having it in a different spot, because mentally, like, you can always think of ways to improve your business, right? Like, and so it's easy for your mind to just always be going on like, what can I do to grow? What can I do to make it better? How can I improve? So you have to just like be able to say, okay, like, that's enough. We'll think about it again tomorrow. Now, like, I need to focus on making dinner and being with the kids. And because you can just think about it nonstop.
Well, one thing, I always joke with you guys when we're on our bike rides. I always say like, Celeste and me, I'd love, your guys like 5 years down the road from, we kind of want to be where you guys are at. And, I think one of the things that's really attractive is like the ability for you just to, hey, your kids are kind of at the stage where they're a little bit older, right? They don't need you 24/7. And so you can, you're kind of wanting to get back into like, hey, I want to work. I want to like, be a little bit more, how do I say it, in the workforce. And this is kind of, I guess, how have you, you talked about it a little bit, but how has that transition been? Has it been good? Have you feel like there's been challenges on that front, or like maybe walk us through that a little bit?
I felt really fortunate, because it was kind of actually the year before Ryan started his MBA that I started realizing like, okay, my youngest is going to start preschool. Like, what do I want to go back to school? Do I want to get a job? So I'd already started kind of processing in my mind what the next stage of life looked like for me. And I was thinking about a bunch of different options. And when this happened and when we bought the business, it just felt right and it fit perfectly. So I'd already prepared myself for that like mental shift to go back into working, luckily, thankfully. And so I don't feel like it was as difficult as just, being dropped in unexpectedly. At the same time, like, no matter how much you prepare yourself mentally, like, it's still a shift. There's still always that fight between feeling like I can't do it all. You know, like I used to be way, obviously, like I just stayed home with my kids. So I was really on top of making
Yeah.
dinner and making all the meals and having our house clean and all those things that made our house, well, how a home should be, how I thought a home should be. And now it was like, I don't have time to do the laundry, and we're gonna eat mac and cheese for dinner because I don't have time for anything else. You know, it just was like, uh, it definitely was a shift in feeling, recognizing what I could do and changing my expectations on what I could handle. And but it's been a really good, a great growth process for me. I feel like, to recognize. I also felt really intimidated because it had been so long since I'd been in the workforce. So I was like, oh, I don't remember a lot of these things. Like I got my degree in business, but I don't remember a lot, you know. So but just recognizing like, okay, like I can figure this out and I can remember things and I can be smart. And so it's been really good for me.
Well, I've been over at your guys' place after you've acquired the business, and your food still tasted amazing. The house still looked great. So, and you've been able to grow your business. So, you know, I know there's challenges and there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes, but from an outside perspective, it looks like you guys are doing pretty well.
Well, that's nice. There's definitely been nights where the kids are like, hey mom, remember when you used to make dinner? Like, oh yeah, yeah, I remember.
Sounds like Maddie throwing some shade at you. All right, great. Well, I guess kind of one last question as we're wrapping up here. So you have this business, it's generating great cash flow. It's grown, you know, partly because of, you know, the strategy, the steps, you know, kind of the improvements you guys have done, but also because of, you know, pandemic and surge in demand. I guess, what do you see the future of this business being like? And then a future for you guys as well. Do you hang on to it still, or do you look for a liquidation event yourself? Like, kind of, what questions are you guys asking, and how are you thinking about this?
Yeah, and I think we're still exploring that a little bit. I mean, Jessica hinted at this earlier, in that we bought this as a little bit like an experiment. I often refer to this as I bought my internship while I was in MBA, and you know, because of the size of the business and the complexity of it, and but it's at a point now where it's nice that it's bringing in enough revenue, money for our house, that now I can start exploring and taking risk and doing other things. So I'm developing some software right now that is kind of a fun project to work on, that, you know, I'm going to try and launch and commercialize that. I've also actually started looking at acquisition number 2 as well. So I'm in due diligence right now on a business. And so it's, ideally, I think we'll keep this because it's such a great family business. Jessica likes it. Our kids are working. We have employees who are awesome. You know, it's here, it's close to home. But if we ended up needing that capital to kind of roll into business number 2, we'd probably need to liquidate. And the hard thing is, it's not something you can do overnight. You can't go sell, you know, it's not like selling a bunch of stocks that you can just kind of liquidate over the time, you know, the length of a week or so. It is a long process. So we do need to kind of think through that. But right now, I think the plan, at least for the foreseeable future, is to hang on to it and allow this income to give us the freedom and flexibility to go look for what's next.
Yeah.
It's great. I kind of like this, you know, I know people buy, you know, real estate properties and that generates cash flow. But for me, I feel like you guys are kind of thinking it like, well, you know, real estate you can do, but let's buy businesses and let them generate. And then you guys are kind of like your own little, like, you know, equity fund. And, you know, you didn't, you know, but you're running it out of Provo, Utah instead of New York City or San Francisco. So
it's been fun. It's been so rewarding. Like, it's,
Yeah.
you know, I talked about my career before MBA, you know, working in the corporate world, and that's great. That's right for a lot of people, but that just wasn't a good fit for me. And I found exactly what I'm looking for in terms of freedom, flexibility, challenge, opportunity. It's been super rewarding. So any of your listeners and viewers, like, I'm fully on board. Like, I think this is an awesome career path.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Ryan and Jessica. Again, they are the owners of, I don't think we said your business, Stitches and Giggles, fabric quilting business. Thanks for coming on the hub. It was great having you. Thanks for, you know, sharing a little bit about, your successes and your challenges, your struggles. And I guess, final thought, what advice would you give to someone or family that's kind of looking at this, or, what would be the final thought you would give them as they take this journey?
I realize now in hindsight, I didn't need an MBA to do this. Like, I think acquiring a business is probably really intimidating to some people, thinking that, I need to be an expert in finance and marketing and operations. And you really don't. I mean, you need to be smart, you need to be thoughtful, but a lot of times you're acquiring a business that already has these key employees who know what's going on, and you're going to step in and take it to the next level. So my advice would be to have the courage to do that, to explore this. It seems risky, but in reality, it's awesome and super fulfilling, and it can be a really, really neat, fun experience.
Yeah, I would say kind of along the same lines that it's okay to like make it up as you go along. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. How do I figure this out? And it's okay to just like take the next step, right? And just do the best and learn from that, and then take the next step. And I think that's that courage to take those steps, even when you don't know what you're doing, is what makes the difference. So
Great. All right, folks, everyone, have courage. Have courage and be deliberate. Take those steps. All right, Ryan, Jess, thanks a lot for coming on the podcast. We'll catch you guys soon.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Matt.
Bye.